wreckage and war, steel in her bones, a heart made to soar. Through the smoke and the stars she rises unbowed, a beacon of freedom, fierce and unclouded. No chains, no master to bend us low, only her leader guiding the flow. Hellstern stands sovereign and free, built by the blood of you and me. With iron will and steady hand, she reigns unchallenged, strong we stand. She is the fire, she is the fight. Hellstern forever burns bright. They tried to claim her, to break her will, to shatter the walls that our hands had built. But her banner flies, her throne stands tall, with her leader to answer the call. Through storms and battle, we stand in her name. For what we have built, we'll never betray. With voice commanding and strength untamed, no power in the verse will put her in chains. Hellstern stands sovereign and free, built by the blood of you and me. With iron will and steady hand, she reigns unchallenged, strong we stand. She is the fire, she is the fight. Hellstern forever burns bright. Every wreck we salvage, every blade we bear, every soul who joins us breathes her air. From deep in the black to the edge of the line, her name echoes, her stars align. Through the wreckage of war, her spirit remains unyielding, defiant through struggle and pain. She's not just a name, not just a fleet, she's the blood in our veins, the ground at our feet. Hellstern stands sovereign and free, built by the blood of you and me. With iron will and steady hand, she reigns unchallenged, strong we stand. She is the fire, she is the fight. Hellstern forever burns bright. Her leader stands unshaken and true, guiding her people, the chosen few. Through the stars, her legend will ride. Hellstern eternal, burning inside.
Make sure I got everything turned on. Alright, how's it going, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Captain's Log. Today it's just going to be me. No big deal. Everyone, lives happen. That said, I did take the week to collect some questions, both from my members and from Reddit and from other locations, so we're going to be going over that today. We're going to be talking about some of the bugs plaguing 4.1, and we might venture off into other areas of conversation, depending on how things go. Let's take a quick look at the questions. Where they are. There they are. All right. So we'll jump right into the questions, and we will move right along and see where everything goes. Oh, let me move this, that way I can see everything. There we go. All right. So, as you guys all know, 4.1 has been a little chaotic. Not as bad as 4.0. 4.0 was really rough. 4.01 was just as rough, and 4.02 was a little bit better. A little bit smoother. but still heavily bug plagued. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I seem to remember a letter from a particular person um, who stated very clearly that their focus was going to be on bug fixes and polish and giving the players a better experience. Okay, well, we were in 4.0.2 in a relatively okay position, and we had 4.1 in PTU. And the the week that it launched into live, there were content creators, big ones, most notably, making statements that it wasn't ready. It was bugged. I was part of it. I made the same statements. It wasn't ready. I jumped into PTU. I tested everything out. It had some cool stuff, but it still wasn't ready. Most notably in the data communication aspect, which is why we're experiencing latency, some desync, why we're experiencing uh, high BWin, um, why we're having uh, latency in the rendering, uh, screen tearing, or just issues with the renderers. I think this is the first update I've actually had to turn on upscaling just to get some kind of balance out of my frame rates. But yeah, so I'm wondering where in the world all of that talk went. Was it just talk? Mr. Chris Roberts, your letter? I mean, clearly your company doesn't seem to follow your goal and your dream of presenting a polished and bug free experience to the player base. I think they just want to push stuff out still and continue to band aid update after update after update. So that way you're wearing 5, 6, 7, 8 band aids of hot fixes on your spaghetti code, with old developers leaving and new developers coming in and starting to write in their own style of scripting and coding that is not, you know, compatible with older coded systems. Um, get a lot of inconsistencies, and no one has completed the refactors. Instead of, refactoring the systems or learning the style in which the old coder put it all together, they just go, "Oh, I'm going to do it my way." Okay, well, bugs. I mean, I've wondered for years how a an update, right? You add a ship, let's say. You add a ship to the game, and somehow you break trams. Or you fix a bug related to um atmosphere in sections of stations or ships, and somehow you break elevators. Things that are completely separate from one another. You manage to break things by adding other things that are unrelated, or fixing other things that are unrelated. I really wish I understood a lot of what's going on behind the scenes a bit more, but unfortunately, I mean, it just up until someone figures out to let me rephrase that. Until someone explains it to me, I don't get it. I really don't. But yeah. Anyways, so uh, as you can already tell, we're kind of going along the conversation of bugs in this conversation, and that'll continue a little bit later on. So let's get right into the questions. So the first question has to do with the new fauna added in 4.1, which, by the way, they're pretty cool. I'm gonna admit. I mean, that it's not the big ones, it's not the really big ones, and it's not the huge ones. Huge. It's just the little bitty ones, and they don't really give any loot. They're there to be a nuisance and harass you. They've got about as much HP as 2 heavy units, NPCs, and or maybe 3. Either way, they're kind of cool. But anyways, the question is, how does the introduction of the juvenile Valacar species influence planetary expedition tactics and risk assessments? First off, I've only found them out in the wild in a few places, and where I have found them, there's nothing out there, which means the exploration tactics, there's nothing to explore. It's just dirt. Um, Risk assessment, they're minuscule. Because if you're out there, you have a ship and you can easily blast them with your ship in like 2 shots, 3 shots maybe, and they're dead. Um, on foot, you have to empty about a mag, maybe a mag and a half if you miss as they're wiggling, um, into the Valacar in order for them to die. Meanwhile, they are throwing dirt balls at you that they have regurgitated, um, and which, by the way, leads to yet another bug. You can't see it. There's no visualization or very little. Like you see some of the particle effects, but you don't actually see the projectile coming from the Valacar's mandibles. We'll call them mandibles, mouth, whatever you want to say, and being thrown at you. I remember in the PTU, I did see it. I saw them fly from the Valacar and hit my ship shields, which, by the way, it does next to nothing to your ship shields. You can take a good number of Valacar hits to your ship, a light fighter even. It does nothing. So, in terms of risk assessment, not a big deal. Now, if you're doing the new event, every stage of the dish alignment process, which is 3 stages, it will summon a new wave of Valacar because the tower is causing rumbling in the terrain, and that rumbling is causing the Valacar to be attracted to it, thinking that there's food or something for them to come and eat. And I mean, there's Ninetales and you, which, by the way, the Ninetales will engage the Valacar. They consider them a threat, and the Valacar will engage Ninetales. But both of them will engage you over one or the other. So if you are not present, they will engage one another. But if you are present, they will both engage you. So as far as risk assessment, I would say that that's pretty high if you're on foot and doing the event. That being said, you've got Ninetales, or I don't know if it's just the Ninetales or if it's all NPCs, but I've mostly witnessed this around the new event locations, the Hathor locations, where any NPC with a shotgun can basically snipe you. Actually, no, any weapon really. Even the guys with pistols, you peek your head around a corner for just a split second, and you catch 2 bullets from a pistol, and you're down to half health. Like these guys, their aiming is wicked high, and you can be desynced all to hell, and you won't even know that you're dead until after you've walked halfway down a hallway and die out of line of sight. So, good luck with that. All right, so the next question, let's see. Sorry, I got a little off topic on that question. Apologies. Okay, I don't think that question applies. Let's move on to the next one. What are the potential strategic advantages and resource opportunities presented by the newly introduced Hathor alignment facilities? Okay, so I mean, I guess we were kind of already going that direction. Let's go ahead and answer this question. The potential strategic advantages. Well, there are none. There's no strategic advantages to holding these facilities. You get in, you align them, and you just freaking leave. You don't stick around. There's nothing there to assist you in any tactical for any tactical advantage. Once they're aligned, they're locked in place. You have to align all 3 of them. Have to do a few more steps, and eventually the laser goes off. Now, once the laser goes off, that's where you need to start paying attention. This goes into the second half of the question, resource opportunities. So down where the laser drills, it opens up what the developers have called a Valacar cave. Now, it's not a very big cave. It has 2 main branches, one that goes down and one that kind of goes level off to the left. And it's the same mine or the same shaft on all 3 platforms, identical. and it's the same resources inside. There are 3 resources inside, with options to see some of the gems like Hadnite and Dolivine and Aphorite. Dolivine I haven't really seen hardly any of, but I have seen Aphorite and I have seen Hadnite in there. That being said, there's probably the possibility that Janelite could spawn there, but if I haven't even seen Dolivine, I highly doubt that Janelite will spawn in there. So, anyways, there are at least 3 other materials that'll spawn in there. You have Janelite, or excuse me, wow, wrong topic, brain stuck. You have Karenite, which is a hand mineable. In these caves, by the way, there is hand mineable rocks and vehicle mineable rocks. In terms of vehicles getting into the cave, I have seen Pisces fit, I have seen rocks fit in, I have seen the new Geo fit in. So basically everything you need for an operation underground for medical and mining. You can use tractor beams to move the rock up and down between levels because there is no driving path. So there is that. Let's see here. The other 2 materials, I don't have them listed here in front of me, and I can't remember them off the top of my head. One of them starts with an S, like selenium or something like that, and I can't remember the 3rd material by name, but it is kind of a gray, greeny material. All of these materials are required for the new Wakello missions and trading opportunities. So definitely valuable to go and collect, whether you collect them by taking them off of the dead miners that are down there or by doing it yourself. But like I said, this is where your strategy really comes into play by having fighters in the air to protect your airspace while your miners are down there picking up the materials. This is where either cooperation between 2 individual orgs focused on those 2 individual tasks or an organization that is multifaceted, like ours. So having a mining team down below while having a fighter team in the air, providing air dominance and coverage, is ideal. Mind you, the hole only stays open for about 40 minutes to an hour, and you kind of have to keep track of it because there's no notifications, there's no signs, there's no indication of any kind that would suggest that the hole is going to collapse and close, which, by the way, it will do. Just like in the executive hangars, when the executive hangar closes, eventually you will just straight up die. Basically, CIG summons a kill box. Anything inside that box dies. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. The hole is no different. When the hole gets covered up again, a kill box gets summoned and you die. Again, no indication that when it's going to happen, but it's roughly about 40 minutes to an hour. I didn't actually time it. If anyone has timed it, I would be interested to know. Feel free to put that information down in the comments below or here in chat as we talk live. Let's see here. Moving on to the next question. Oh, by the way, I to be completely clear, the new facilities are pretty cool. I do like the new design concept of structures in the verse. I think there should be more variation of facilities and design, or architecturally different languages used in different situations. The Hathor design language is very industrial, very basic, cement. I really like it. I think the facilities are actually pretty cool. I think they could offer some unique opportunities to make other locations similar to those that can have some real fun gameplay mechanics associated with them. Let's see. So this kind of goes into the bug category, but the question was asking, given the reports of ships randomly exploding near stations, especially in Pyro, what precautionary measures should be implemented during approach? And honestly, there's nothing you can do about that. Basically, there are invisible artifacts out around the stations. And if you hit it, you hit it. You cannot stop yourself from hitting it because you can't see it. It is invisible. It's impossible to detect. There's no scan that will show it up. There's literally nothing that will stop it. Basically, if you remember the old bug from flying in low atmosphere on planets back in what was it, 3.24, 3.23, I can't remember which, but we had a similar bug where if you flew in low atmosphere, like if you were low flying or if you were just coming into land but spent an elongated amount of time on a shallow approach, you would hit something invisible and die, which also leads back to another bug related to invisible asteroids around Grimhex. Right? So all of these invisible artifacts keep cropping up in different locations, and it, quite frankly, it's unacceptable. They've had years to fix this issue and keep introducing it over and over and over again in different scenarios. First, it was around Grimhex, which, by the way, that one keeps cropping up randomly, so be careful approaching Grimhex. Stay well clear of any asteroids. Don't try and skirt around them. Just, make a nice level approach where there's nothing in your way. I would say climb up above the ring and come down. That way, you avoid anything along a horizontal path towards Grimhex. Um, then with the atmospheric one, that one slightly cropped up recently, but then they fixed it and that went away. But I've got a song about that on one of my other channels, where basically if you're flying low in level, you just hit something invisible and die. No question, there's no indication that there's something in the sky. You just die. Um, then there's the latest one, which is around stations in Pyro, where as you approach the station, there are random pieces of debris or artifacts or something in space around the stations that you can't see, kind of like those invisible asteroids around Grimhex, that will just literally detonate your ship without any question. To just rip it to pieces, rip a wing off, or just fully detonate. Had it happen a few times to me, mostly on the underside near the pads. I was trying to get into someone else's ship, and the debris looked clear, right? There was nothing there. But as I tried to get into the ship, or tried to get close to the ship, my ship would just spontaneously combust. So yeah, that is definitely a thing. I've seen it firsthand. I know it's been reported, but they have not done anything about it yet. There's been no hotfix or anything like that. Let's see. Next question. With the recent adjustments to the grenade launcher's damage radius and physics impact, how does this rebalance affect combat strategies? And the emphasis on skill over raw power. Okay, that one's a bit deep. But I don't really use grenade launchers a lot myself. A couple of my comrades and org members have. That being said, looking at those stats that I saw, they reduced the not just the radius but the damage. So instead of 3 grenades, it now takes 4. They got rid of the knockback effect, so now whenever a grenade hits at your feet, you don't get flung away from the pressure of the explosion. And there's just no more skill. It is faster to shoot them with a gun than it is to throw grenades at them with a grenade launcher. The grenade launcher tactically is no longer sound. There's no point to take it. Unless you have an entire squad with grenade launchers and you just all lob at a doorway all at the same time, then okay, I can probably see an advantage to that. But you all have to carry them, and they're not easy to get your hands on. There are certain locations where you can farm them. I'm not going to divulge that, but yeah, it's a pain in the ass to use. Kind of pointless. So just take a gun. The skill of using a grenade launcher is relatively low, so I mean that's not even a factor. The raw power has basically been neutered. Basically, snip the balls off of the grenade launcher. No pun intended. Um, just don't use it. It's not worth it this update. Wait till they bring it back. I think where it sat before was a very healthy position. Was it ideal? No, but did it serve its purpose? Yes. I think it was a great weapon, and it wasn't utilized as much as it probably should have been in certain situations. But in the end of the last update, it actually saw a higher use in contested zones. So that was cool to see. But as they started gaining popularity in contested zones, some developer decided to go, no, that's too much. We're going to take that off the field and neutered it to high hell. All right, so moving on to the next question. Sorry, trying to cherry pick some of these questions out here so that way I can give some pretty good answers because some of these I feel like they were not geared towards me, and so yeah, we'll just. Okay, so this is a good question. Primarily because I feel like the asker didn't really realize that it was already this particular type of game. So, the question is, in light of the game's shift towards sandbox gameplay, what strategies should be adopted to remain agile and effective in an increasingly dynamic and player-driven universe? It's a good question. However, shifting towards sandbox gameplay was never a factor. It was always a sandbox gameplay experience. If you didn't realize that, you were diluting your what's the term? No, yeah, diluting yourself to whatever. Anyways, you you didn't understand what the game was. The game has always been a sandbox. A sandbox gameplay experience, especially for MMO, which is what they're trying to achieve. They are up to 600 players. I still don't exactly consider that an MMO, although technically it is. Massive multiplayer online. I mean, at what number do you consider it to be massive? I came from a Star Citizen experience where it was all one shard, so literally thousands upon thousands of players playing all at the same time on the same shard could interact with anyone at any given time for any reason, any location. That's what I considered MMO. But I also played, World of Warcraft, which their server counts were also in the thousands. But it was also a less intense game in terms of graphic requirements and system requirements, resources. That being said, 600 people is 600 people MMO. I mean, I guess I can give it to them, but I still don't think it's quite there. But an MMO sandbox experience basically means that the developers give you a world, give you a universe to interact in. Okay, so here's the universe. And the universe has rules just as we have them here in real life. You have gravity, you have cause and effect, you have all the laws of physics. This world, this area that you play in, called the sandbox, has these rules. The developers put them in place, and then they basically give you toys to play in the sandbox. Build your own sand castles, or use them to attack one another, or whatever you want to do. If your imagination allows for it and the game rules don't deny it, you can do it. That is a sandbox experience. And in an MMO world or ecosystem, the sandbox experience mixed with massively multiplayer online, meaning you are now able to do whatever you want to anyone else in that sandbox as well. So, I mean, we've already been there. That's the whole premise of the game. But strategies, all right. So you're finally opening your eyes. I get that. Um, Welcome to the club. Strategies. First and foremost, be aware. That is the simplest, most impactful advice I can give you. Be aware because you're not the only one out there. You're not the only one in the verse, and at any time, someone could drop on you for any reason. They could come to help, they could come to destroy you, they could come just to harass you and not actually do anything. Like they could wait till you get out of your ship and destroy your ship and leave you stranded. Did they kill you? No, but they took away your method of getting off of the planet or the moon or wherever you're at. They could leave you stranded in deep space. They could knock you out, drag you aboard their ship, take you somewhere else, and keep you hostage. Admittedly, you can just backspace out of that, but eventually that feature will go away. So that's really not a strategy to rely on. So first and foremost, be aware, right? Be aware of your position. Be aware of other people in your area. Be aware of escape options. Be aware of your firepower, right? Know what you can take on, know what you can't, and be aware of what your ship is capable of. Is your ship capable of fighting? If not, don't put yourself in risky situations. If you're going to put yourself in risky situations, take a friend. If you don't have any friends, make some. If you're incapable of making some, well, this probably isn't the game for you. And if you're incapable of making some, but you still fight really well, okay, well, carry on, right? Whatever. That's how this game works. Just be aware. That's the one and only strategy. If you're running cargo, don't run straight lines. Jump off somewhere else and then go to your destination. That way you're off of the main travel path that people are going to be, QT jamming. If you are trading, same thing. If you are trying to catch people, be aware of the strategies that others are going to use to try and avoid your trap. If you are trying to fight, be aware of where the hot zones are. If you're trying not to fight, again, be aware of where the hot zones are. Know where people are fighting. Know where missions are taking people. Because where the people are where the PvP shows up. Mostly, firstly, where value is, right? So if there are high value missions in an area, people are going to run those missions to get money. Because that's right now the main focus of the game. People are just wanting to build capital. So yeah, I would say the tactic is quite simply just be aware. Um, and that was, I guess that's really kind of the last question that was really worth looking into. Um, okay, well, yes, we should move on to our bug section, which again, I just want to re-emphasize 4.1 was not ready. Okay. And I know why they do certain things because I've seen them talk about it. I've seen other content creators talk about it. I have seen developers talk about it on Spectrum as well. And basically, they put something out on the PTU. Not enough people jump into the PTU to test it, and they need to put it to a broader player base to work out the bugs that they have. But that goes against what Chris Roberts himself said in his letter at the beginning of the year, which was, we are working towards giving you a more polished experience with every update, which means you're going to get slower content rollout. They're going to focus less on new mechanics to the game, new systems and new stuff. It doesn't mean that they're not going to give it to you. It's just going to be much slower rolling out. They're going to focus more on utilizing existing systems to produce new content, which is something that they did say they were going to roll out more frequently. But the majority of their focus is going to be on bug fixes because we have been plagued with bugs on top of bugs on top of bugs. Every time there is a bug, it either gets a proper fix or a hot fix. Some hot fixes are meant to fix it in the moment, and then it doesn't break again because sometimes band-aids do work. Um, but then they don't go back in and they don't fix it properly. So then they release another update on top of your already existing band-aid. And for whatever reason, the code in that new update breaks the band-aid. Now that bug comes back, and it also introduces new bugs. So then they release a hotfix that refixes that band-aid, that fixes some of the bugs in the new update, and then they release an actual point patch to fix some of the other major stuff. But a lot of the smaller stuff they just leave band-aid, just leave it as hotfix because it's still working, right? Don't fix it if it ain't broke, and if it's not acting up, it's not broken to them. So then they release another update, which possibly breaks the band-aid on the second update, but not the first update this time, because it doesn't introduce a particular line of code that interferes with some of the other scripting from the previous updates. I don't really know exactly, but I mean, so far, what little I know of development cycles and coding and stuff like that, sounds pretty on point. So, I mean, if you are more knowledgeable than me, please feel free to correct me here in chat while we're live or in the comments below after the fact. I'll be happy to read them or respond to them, and if I am wrong, I will happily eat my words. But anyways, this goes on over and over and over and over again. So now you've got bugs on top of bugs on top of bugs on top of bugs. And so Chris Roberts claimed that they're working towards trying to implement bug fixes and more quality patches as they roll out. So where is that? Because we've had some pretty critical bugs in this 4.1 patch. Admittedly, it's not 318 level, not even close yet. I mean, we can still get from our habs to our hangars into our ships and leave the station sometimes. Every now and then there's a hiccup that doesn't let you leave the station. You got to figure out another way out. But that's, another bug keeps coming up. But the game is still technically playable. Technically. So 4.1. Was it ready? Should it have come out? My thought is no. I think that 4.1 was not ready. I think it needed at least one more week in PTU, at minimum. If I was being optimistic, I'd say 2 weeks. But yeah, they decided to push it live when they did, and it was not ready. It was a very, very rough launch for 4.1. Even day one, getting into the 4.1 update was you would play and you would die over and over and over again. Admittedly, okay, you don't lose your gear, right? The 4.1 update basically says whatever you're wearing, you're going to wake up with. And that's your equipped points, not your backpack, not your core, not your pants, whatever's in your pockets. It all gets left there. But your armor, your grenades, your ammo, anything that is on your person, on a hard point on your person, will be stored and given back to you when you wake up. It'll be equipped to you. You don't have to go into your inventory and put it back on. Which was the case whenever you died inside armistice areas before. You'd have to go into your inventory and put it back on. So yeah. Big issues. You would go in, you try and fight, you die to NPCs. You would try and fight a player, and both of you are desynced so badly that you are shooting at each other in completely opposite directions. You're seeing him shoot off across the hallway when in actuality he's aimed right at you, shooting at you, where you're shooting at him, but he sees you shooting out the door, and your back's to him. That's how bad desync has been. And it's a coin toss as to who wins. There's no way to definitively tell who's going to win a firefight. So yeah, there's that was just an absolute shit show. It made running the Hathor missions or the Hathor event um, undesirable on day one. Like I didn't even want to run it for the event. I wanted to get the new armor sets that were dropping in the loot boxes that were at those locations. And the best loot boxes are inside the red doors or inside the battery compartment or inside, just really restricted areas. And it follows a similar structure to how the contested zone works. Blue cards lead to red cards lead to comp boards leads to alignment of the array. Once the array is fully aligned, it opens up one more room it exposes a battery and a bunch more loot. Which during the PTU there wasn't any ship components in there, which now there are. Which most of those ship components are B and C grade, but every now and then you get the gem of getting an A grade component. Sometimes it's stealth, sometimes it's combat, sometimes it's civilian. It doesn't really matter, but every now and then you get a gem. And seems that they have very specific spawn locations for specific types of items. So if that's what you're into, I would say learn them repeatedly. But anyways, yeah, 4.1 was not ready. Bottom line. So going into the bugs for Alpha 4.1, ship explosions near stations, which we already had a question about that. We talked about that a little bit. Basically, pilots are reporting that they're exploding near stations without any reason whatsoever. I've encountered that myself. I think it's really shitty that particular bug keeps cropping up at different locations. The Hull A cargo spindle malfunctions whenever you spawn it in. Every now and then when you spawn the ship in, the spindles are partially extended. So the spindles are extended through the hull, but the hull is still collapsed. And it basically makes the spindles unusable. You cannot, change your configuration. You can't put stuff on them when they're sticking out through the ship, because technically the game thinks it's still collapsed, but visually they're extended. So the game doesn't know which state the ship is actually in. So it doesn't know whether to extend or collapse, and your ship is just non-functional. There is a workaround for that. I don't know what it is because I don't haul cargo, and I especially don't haul cargo in a Hull A if I am ever forced to. So that being said, you'll have to do some Googling and maybe some YouTube videos talk about the Hull A specifically, and you can find the workaround for that, but I am told that there is a workaround. So inaccessible vehicle inventories. I don't know if this is select vehicles or all vehicles, but it's been reported that there are certain, or that generally speaking, that vehicle inventories are not functional. I assume this means the lockers, right? So the exterior storage compartments, such as underneath beds, personal lockers, medical cabinets, stuff like that, right? A good number of the newer ships have these. Some of the older ones have had them reworked into them. But in my experience, I haven't noticed any ships that I have not been able to access the exterior cargo space, such as in the Cuddy Black, those two lockers behind the co-pilot seat. They work just fine. I've not had a problem with that. I haven't really tested a whole lot others recently, but there is that. Let's see. All right. Inventory. Personal hangar elevator anomalies. What is this one? So elevators intended for personal hangars may open to empty space. I have had that happen a bunch of times. If multiple destinations are selected during transit. Now that is something new. I only selected one location. I might have selected the same location twice, but I do open up into empty space, even with one location selected. So I don't know about the multiple destinations selected, but just selecting one opens up to a hangar that hasn't even rendered yet, hasn't even registered that, that is a space that's supposed to be occupied by my hangar. So yes, that is definitely a bug, absolutely. But the conditions that they report it cropping up in, I can't verify. I've had it happen with other conditions. They said to avoid this, only select one destination per trip. Again, I've had that happen with just one destination selected. So, I mean, I guess at this point it's just kind of a shit shoot. Just toss a coin and hope it lands heads. Cargo grid component clipping. That is a thing. And however, that is a bug that is slightly useful. Ships and vehicle components may clip into the... Okay, hold on. Not exactly what I thought. All right, we'll talk about both. One that isn't here and one that I'm reading now. So they're saying that ship and vehicle components may clip into the ground when placed on a cargo grid, leading to potential loss or inaccessibility. Exercise caution when using tractor beams to handle components. Yes and no. Yes, if you have a tractor beamed component and you try to attach it to a cargo grid, it has a no clip feature where it just goes right through the cargo grid and doesn't snap anywhere. It just goes below the surface that you're able to interact with. It cuts the beam and it's gone. That's what I've experienced. That's the bad side of it. So now let's talk about the good side of it. So what I thought was what they talked about in clipping here is the components clip with one another. So when you attach them to the grid, one attaches here, one attaches here, one attaches here, right? And they clip over one another, reducing the amount of space you need to actually put 3, 4, 5 components because they're all clipped into one another. That's a handy feature when you get it to work. It is a bug, not intended, and it's actually useful. So there is that. Freight elevator overloaded errors. Certain freight elevators, especially those in Pyro, I haven't been to Pyro in 4.1, which is kind of funny because in 4.0, 4.01, 4.02, I was strictly Pyro. I did not come to Stanton unless I was expressly asked to. So yeah, there's that. But here I haven't been to Pyro, so this bug says it's particularly found in Pyro. Let me just... The cargo elevator may display elevator overloaded errors regardless of the actual load, hindering mission progress. Seeking alternative elevators may provide a temporary solution. Since we're on the topic of cargo elevators, I'm just going to throw this one out there because I'm pretty sure that it still exists because, CIG is really slow to fix shit. If you were doing contested zones, the cargo elevators at the end of contested zones, stay in the terminal for the full cycle. If you try to treat it like your cargo elevator in your hangar, it will bug. What I mean by that is, if you put components on it and you send it down and then immediately leave the terminal when it's trying to process all those materials down and into your storage, it's going to bug. It will no longer be functional for anyone else, including yourself, anymore for the lifespan of that server until that server shuts down or respins up or whatever the case may be. That elevator is screwed. Instead, when you send something down, it's going to say that it's transferring to inventory. It will then change the screen. It'll then cycle. It'll send it back up. You'll hear all of the audio along with it, and you'll have a display on the screen saying what step that the elevator's at. When you hear the elevator come back up and the door open, you can get off the terminal. It will continue to work if you do that. If you don't do that, you'll get one load and that's it. Whereas in your personal hangars, if you were to get on the elevator terminal, call it up, you could walk away as it's coming up. Not a big deal. If you get on the terminal and you send it down because you've put stuff on it, and you walk away the moment you hit the send button, not a big deal. It will work. But for some reason, the ones in the contested zones, because it has a down, store, and automatic come back up feature, it doesn't work the same way as the ones in your hangars. The cargo elevators at the end of contested zones require the full cycle require you to be on the terminal for the full cycle in order for it to process. If you leave it early, it will get stuck and it will not fix. So, bear that in mind. That is not on my list, by the way, but I have experienced that in 4.0, 4.01, and 4.02. It has not been fixed. I have yet to try it in 4.1. I'll have to go and check that out. Quantum travel component damaged. Selecting orbital markers around Pyro 5 without ensuring a clear path may result in quantum travel through the planet, causing significant component damage. Okay, so I know what this one's talking about. They said they fixed this one. I don't know if this is still a bug. This might be old, but I'm going to have to look into that one. So what they're talking about is the OMs were actually placed really close to the planet, which means that if you went from OM to OM to OM, well, first off, don't even worry about the third OM. Just let's talk about point A and point B. So you're going from OM1 to OM2, or OM1 to OM3. Let's say that one, because that one I know has a straight shot. You're going to clip through Pyro 5. Pyro 5, for whatever reason, has some kind of feedback that it surges your ship, it damages your components, and it 100% fries all of your fuses. At that point, your ship is more or less soft dead. It's technically not. If you can repair the components, you can get your ship started back up and you can leave, but no one carries that tool. Hardly ever. And if you do, congratulations, good on you. You can repair your ship and you can get the hell out of there, I think. I haven't done it myself because I don't carry it either. But yeah, cutting through the planet will damage your ship. They said they fixed it. They did a couple things. They said that the OMs were going to be moved out, so it didn't clip the planet. And they said that the damage that the planet does wouldn't happen. Again, I haven't been to OM5 recently. I haven't wanted to risk my ship. So instead of going from OM to OM, because it has so many moons around it, I just jump from moon to moon. I don't use the OMs on Pyro 5. So if you are one who follows the OMs, stop. Don't do it. Just use the moons on Pyro 5. It's so much better, so much more convenient. It gives you more vision of other locations as you go around the planet from destination to destination. It's far more convenient, and you don't run the risk of damaging your ship. However, if that bug still exists, I'm going to be mad because they said they fixed it. Let's see. Service station repair delays. Repair, refuel, and restock options may not immediately appear upon docking at service stations. I assume that also means landing on pads and or in hangars. Allow time for hangar doors to close and then reopen the mobiGlas to access these services. Okay. I haven't encountered that. I have encountered other issues with it, mostly in the area of it being delayed in actually processing your request. So basically you open up your mobiGlas, you say, I want this, this, and this, and then they go, yep, we got you. And then 2 minutes later, 3 minutes later, then they go, oh yeah, that's right, we were doing something. And then they finally fix your stuff, refuel your shit, whatever. I've had that. I have not had the other one. I have, however, had the issue that they said they fixed, which means when you try to interact with the services panel to repair your ship or rearm or refuel, it's not supposed to change away from that panel and go to the the ones indicating that you're not in range or not on the pad or not able to access services. But I've had that happen. I've selected my services, and after selecting one of my services, it changed over. Now, if you don't select anything, it doesn't change. But if you select something, there's a chance that it will flip over to the no services. Like you're not in range of services. Whatever you selected will still process, but it won't let you select the other ones. So you have to go to a different tab in your mobiGlas, or close your mobiGlas and open it back up, and go back to the services tab, and it will then show you the rest of the services your ship needs. So at the very least, it's not as bad as it used to be, but it does still happen. So just be aware of that. I think the quantum fuel bug on pads has been fixed. I know it's been fixed at least for hangars. But the pads one you might still have a 50-50 chance as to whether or not you're going to get fuel on that thing or not. Missing hangar audio. This is something that I have definitely experienced on multiple occasions, and with the Geo, I've also encountered a different phenomenon, which I'll talk about right after this. So, some hangars lack ambient audio, resulting in an eerily silent environment. This issue is under investigation, according to this poster. Yeah, I can agree. There are parts of stations, especially in Pyro, and I'm pretty sure all hangars have this issue, where there's a section of the hangar or the entire hangar that has no ambient audio, and so it's like being in your own head and not being able to hear anything else other than your own blood pulse, heartbeat and blood flow and other things that you normally wouldn't be able to hear. As you exit these areas, all the sounds come flooding back. Also, if you stand in a Pyro personal hangar, it might be in other hangars too, but in the Pyro personal hangar, if you stand right on the threshold between where your terminals are and where the hangar starts, you listen closely, you can actually hear audio playing. And that audio is from Hurston Dynamics. If you were to go to Hurston, right, and you sit in your hangar, you will hear audio play. Well, if you go to Pyro and you sit in your hangar at that specific location right on that threshold, you will hear all the same audio prompts that you hear in Hurston. It's really weird. It's really kind of crazy, and I think they need to fix that because I don't think that belongs there. All right, so the other bug was with the Geo. Okay, so the Geo, when you're walking around your hangar, randomly, the audio and visual of your thrusters will kick on. It doesn't take effect. You don't jump. You don't do anything like that. But the audio and visual of your thrusters kicking on are in very select locations of your hangar. I think I've experienced it around the Verse 2 in random locations. Whenever I'm walking around on a planet or something, the boosters will randomly kick on. Now I don't know if that's visible to anyone else because I haven't asked. I haven't had anyone around me when that's happened. And I think in the hangar it did happen next to someone and they commented on it, but out in the Verse I don't know. So be aware that if you're in a Geo, I know you're not exactly being stealth, but be aware that there are other audio cues and visuals that others will be able to see when you're operating that. So that's a thing as well. Landing services app lag. Okay, so this bug was in here. They just separated it. But basically, we've already talked about this. All right, so I'm gonna move on because it's basically talking about how when you open a mobiGlas and you select your services, it takes a couple minutes to actually recognize that you've requested those services and actually kick in. Missing operations descriptions. Yes, I've seen that. I've seen all description gone. I've also seen placeholder text in some of them where it goes go to location and do event and turn in at location, and it's like, okay, I don't know where to go, I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't know where I'm supposed to turn it in at. I mean, I've got all the rest of the stuff for flavor, but I don't have the critical information I need to run that event or that mission. And if I cancel it, I lose reputation. So the easiest way is just a menu log, come back in. But if you're the only one on that server, then you like that server, then you're gonna have to have a friend in there to rejoin. It's just a headache. You get the picture. Anyways, I'll go ahead and read the bullet point on this one. Players have reported issues with Ground missing and refinery jobs being stuck to cargo grids affecting mining operations. Okay, this has nothing to do with descriptions. I'm confused. Apparently there's a bug that certain locations are missing ground. Oh no, the ground mining and refining jobs. So basically you go and take a ground mining and refining job, and when you call it up, it's stuck to the cargo grid. How is that even? Oh, okay. Anyways. All right. And of course, the kind of what I talked about in the very beginning when 4.1 launched, the final bug is performance and stability concerns. Not necessarily a bug, but is a bug. It's more just performance, right? So they added more shit. It had an impact on the processing on the server side and rendering on the client side. And it's just causing all kinds of desync and issues. But despite improvements over previous versions, some players continue to experience performance issues and desynchronization, kind of like what I already talked about in the very beginning. But that wraps up the 13 different bugs, the top 13 bugs in 4.1. There are a lot more, guys. If you've encountered a bug that you've reported to the issue council, feel free to put it in chat or in the comments below. After the fact, I will definitely go and upvote it if it's something I've encountered. If you just want to talk about a bug and you haven't made an issue council report, feel free to talk about it. I'm interested to know all the different bugs that are out there, both good and bad. So, if you've experienced some good bugs that have been beneficial to you, let me know. I really, really like to know what those bugs are. Because it's rare. That's very rare that you have beneficial bugs, right? The beneficial bug that I have in my list is the components, stacking on top of each other. And not like stacking, but like meshing with each other. They're clipping with each other. That's the term. So let's see. I think we'll go ahead and start wrapping up the stream. We've talked about, if you're just joining us near the end, we've talked about a lot of the 4.1 features. We had questions that I answered from the community, both on Reddit and in Spectrum, that I handpicked. We talked about my experiences with 4.1 and my opinion that it shouldn't have come live when it did. Talked about the 13 top bugs experienced in 4.1, but again, that's only 13 of them. There are a lot more than just 13, so if my bugs were not on your list, feel free to add them to the comments. Also, if any of what I talked about in the beginning of the stream is something you're interested in, feel free to go back and rewatch it. Feel free to clip any of this and comment on it if you like. But I think that will do it for this week for the Captain's Log. I am currently in the process of updating my OBS with new plugins and new features. Today, in case you didn't know, is the first time I'm actually dual streaming to two platforms. I have the purple platform and the red platform. I won't list them by names, that way neither one of them get mad, but I am effectively on both. You can see it in the upper right hand corner as to which those platforms are. That being said, feel free to go to both of those. I don't have them linked. I will have to add that in the future, so I apologize. I have to add that to the description of the video. But yeah, feel free to follow me on both. It is twitch.tv/Kelbeck, and on YouTube, just search for Hellstern Interstellar Tactics, and make sure to give a like, subscribe, follow, whatever each platform's thing is. I don't promote trying to give me money through the platforms, because it's just they take big cuts and I see very little of it, especially at this stage in development of this channel. But if you really want to help me out, it would really help me out to show a like, leave a comment. That's what will really help the channel grow, and I appreciate every one of you. So with that, I'll go ahead and sign off. I will see you guys again here next week, Wednesday at 9 p.m. Times may be changing, by the way. I may be shifting it by an hour, and I may even be shifting the day, but that is still up in the air. I will let you guys know, on subsequent streams whether that is actually going to be the case. For now, still at the usual time of 9 p.m. Eastern every Wednesday. So we will see you here next week for another Captain's Log. Till then, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for sticking around and watching.
Finally got that engine running, but she don't sound right. Wires dangle low, sparking while in flight. But I ain't worried, no need to fret. Just slap duct tape on it, and you'll be set. Anxiety's a thrill that you know you are alive. Every trip's a gamble, will she survive? Oh, Drake, fix a flight daily, that's the way. Don't forget your wrench, you'll need it every day. Every day. She rattles and shakes, don't lose your nerve. Just add more duct tape, got plenty in reserve. Wires spark, but that's just part of the show. Will she fly today? Well, you never know. Every Drake pilot's got faith so strong, thanking the stars when nothing goes wrong. The thrill of fear every time you fly, holding on tight, praying she'll get you by. Oh, Drake, fix a flight daily, that's the creed. Just one more patch, hope that's all you'll need. She creeps and grows, but still holds air. Yeah, that's a Drake, if you keep up repairs. Don't mind the sparks, they're just part of the charm. And that clinking noise, no cause for alarm. Wire harness swinging like a jungle vine. Just layer on more tape, yeah, you'll be fine. Oh, Drake, fix the flight daily, praise the skies. Every trip's a risk, but she still flies. A miracle on rusty bolts and duct tape dreams. She's falling apart, but really not as bad as it seems. Wires spark, but that's just part of the show. Will she fly today? Well, you never know. Every Drake pilot's got faith so strong, thanking the stars when nothing goes wrong. The thrill of fear every time you fly, holding on tight, praying she'll get you by. Oh, Drake, fix the flight daily, praise the skies. Every trip's a risk, but she still flies. A miracle on rusty bolts and duct tape dreams. She's falling apart, but really not as bad